Hi everyone, welcome back to Gluten Free Habit. I'm Linda, and today I'm going to show you how to make these delicious gluten-free mint chocolate brownie bites, right in time for Christmas. So right around Christmas, I always need something to bring to a family get-together or a work function or a party, and these are the perfect treat to bring. They're easy to make, they're delicious, most people love brownies, and they're bite-size. What could be more fun? These brownie bites are so good, you wouldn't believe how fast my family gobbles these up. And in them, I put some mini semi-sweet chips and some Andes mint baking chips. So they have just a hint of mint and they're extra chocolatey. These stay moist for days, and they're great whether you frost them or leave them unfrosted. The full recipe for these can be found at GlutenFreeHabit.com. Okay, let's take a look at the ingredients. You'll need some brown rice flour, white rice flour, salt, unsweetened cocoa powder, baking powder, xanthan gum, a stick of butter, dark brown sugar, granulated sugar, vanilla, water, an egg, some mini semi-sweet baking chips, and some Andes mint baking chips. You'll also need an 8x8 baking pan, some parchment paper, and if you decide you want to frost these, as I've done in the video here, you'll want to mix up a half batch of my vanilla buttercream frosting. You can find that on my website as well. All right, let's get a few things ready. Set out your 8x8 baking pan and cut some parchment paper to fit the pan with a little bit hanging over the edges. It'll be in a strip measuring about 8x15 or 7.5x15, and there will be two sides that are uncovered, so you can just grease those lightly with Crisco. The reason we need some parchment hanging over the edge is so that we can easily lift the brownies out of the pan. Set out an egg to bring it to room temperature. Put a small saucepan on your stove and preheat your oven to 325 degrees. All right, let's get started. In your small saucepan, melt your butter on low temperature. I like to cut up the butter just to speed things along. Once the butter is melted, add in your granulated sugar, brown sugar, and water. Stir this up and let it heat a little bit on low, and then keep on stirring until it's perfectly smooth. Everyone has their own preference for what type of brownie they like, either chewy or cake-like or just right in the middle. The ratio of brown to white sugars that I'm using in this recipe makes these right in the middle. But you can play around with the sugar ratios if you want to create your perfect brownie. Once it's smooth, go ahead and remove it from the stove and set it aside to cool. Now let's take care of our dry ingredients. Set out a medium-sized mixing bowl and add in your brown rice flour, white rice flour, cocoa powder, salt, baking powder, and xanthan gum. Whisk that together really well. And set it aside. Now when the butter and sugar mixture is mostly cooled, you can add in the vanilla and the egg. Stir until thoroughly combined and really smooth. Now add this wet mixture into your dry mixture. Now stir this up. Make sure all of it's blended in, no dry patches. It gets thicker as you go, so you'll have to use a little muscle. I'm making these brownie bites with mint and chocolate chips, but you can definitely make your own creation with peanut butter, white chocolate, or butterscotch chips, or whatever your favorite is. And now you can add in your semi-sweet mini baking chips and your Andes baking chips. Stir those up really well. It smells amazing with the chocolate and the mint. It's definitely one of my favorite flavor combinations. Now pour your batter into your pan. You'll want to use a rubber spatula to scrape it all out because it's very thick. Take a minute to spread it around and make sure it's level. Now put these in the oven and bake for 35 minutes at 325 degrees. Now remove them from the oven and set them on a cooling rack. These brownies will be very soft until they're cooled, so just set them aside and try to forget them for a few hours. Mine take at least 3 hours before I remove them from the pan. While your brownies are cooling, it's a great time to make your frosting. You'll want to color half of it green. Also, create 2 pastry bags, each with a number 3 piping tip, one with a little bit of green frosting and one with a little bit of white. Now, on the side where there's no parchment, go along the edges with a knife just to loosen the brownies from the pan. To remove them, just grab the sides of the parchment paper and carefully lift out and set onto a countertop. Now, if you plan to frost your brownies, don't cut them up just yet. If you're not going to be frosting, you can go ahead and cut them up. I like to do 4 slices going each direction, which will give you 5 rows on each side, creating 25 brownies. And of course, you can do any size you like. When I'm frosting my brownies, here's what I like to do. I want to do 5 rows, so I'll cut this off center. I'll frost 2/5 white and 3/5 green. Now, as you do this frosting coat, this is going to be your crumb coat, just like we do on a cake. So you'll do a real thin layer just to catch all the crumbs in there, and then we'll put it in the refrigerator for 20 minutes. By chilling it, the frosting will firm up just a little bit and we can frost it nicely with our second coat. Okay, into the fridge it goes. After 20 minutes, you can get those out of the refrigerator, and now you'll do your second coat of frosting, which will be the perfect one with no crumbs. You can clean up the edges of your brownies by running the flat side of a knife around the edge. Once you complete that, put it back in the fridge for another 20 minutes. This just firms up the frosting so that we can pipe on the decorations. Now that the frosting is firm, we can cut up the brownies. One tip is clean your knife between every single slice. That way you won't get crumbs into the frosting. So if you're cutting your brownies like mine, you'll want to cut the smaller section lengthwise, then cut 4 or 5 slices horizontally, making 5 or 6 rows. Remember, your brownies are very cold, so it may take a little bit of pressure to slice through them, but they'll be nice and soft at room temperature. Now do the same with the larger section, except make 2 slices lengthwise, creating 3 columns. So to cut these brownie bites, normally what I do is after I remove the brownies from the pan, I trim a tiny bit off of each side so that the edges are perfect. When you do this, you get 25 perfectly square brownie bites, 5 in each direction. So depending on whether you trim the edges or not, you'll get 25 brownies or a little bit more. I think I'll cut a tiny bit off the edge here to make these more square. Now that they're sliced, you can see exactly where each bite is, and you can start piping on the decorations. Using your white icing, pipe decorations onto your green brownie bites. I'm doing some super easy, cute Christmas trees on these. I'm just piping back and forth, going wider with each line, creating a tree shape. Stars would be really pretty too. And here's a finished brownie bite. I think they're the perfect little bite-sized treat. And now pipe some green trees onto your white frosted brownies. Okay, I think we're ready to serve these up. Pick a nice serving tray and carefully move them over. I like to alternate green, white, and just let them come to room temperature before passing them around. I promise you these brownie bites will be gone so fast it'll make your head spin. I would definitely recommend making a double batch if you're going to be bringing these to any sort of a social function. And what I like to do is make half and half. Half of them are frosted and half of them are not because people have different preferences. And then everyone's happy. So there you go, gluten-free mint chocolate brownie bites. I really hope you like this recipe. Please do me a favor and leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you think. And I just want to thank you guys for all your really nice comments. I appreciate you taking the time to share your questions and your thoughts with me. And I definitely love hearing from you. So please leave me a comment or question down below. And if this video has been helpful to you, please do me a favor and click the thumbs up down below. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I hope you'll take a minute to do that so you don't miss any of the new recipes. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time on Gluten Free Habit.